Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Jalapeno. This is Ty, your host, and today's guest is LaDonnis Crump, a man of many interests and talents, director of influencer marketing at Grail. LaDonnis is also a musician slash rapper whose latest track, Black Boy, is what we focus on here. The song, the lyrics, the influences, and the artist's thoughts on all of it. LaDonnis is on a mission of sorts to share the ideas of self-respect, taking responsibility for your actions, collaborating toward improvement, and spreading love. I'm glad to finally have recorded a conversation with him, even though it's under the confines of quarantine. Forgive the audio quality on this one, recorded it over the phone with less than optimal equipment, but we got it, and here we go with LaDonnis.
Black don't crack, black boy got it like that. Black boy stack that green, black boy king. Came from a young black queen. Black boy, black boy, black boy, black boy. Aye. Black boy living in joy, black boy living in pain. Black boy shot. To be a black boy is insane. To love a black boy is insane. Black boy wild, black boy jumping that crowd. Black boy taught him they
How you doing, man?
Well, man, I'm really good, man. It's been a good morning.
Well, how's everything going for you?
Well, man, we just released the record, Black Boy, with my boys ER, and like it's really doing extremely well, man. I'm like, kind of taken aback, man. I had a lot of good support behind it this week. Erica Badu, G-Eazy, Steve Stout, Made in Tokyo, 24 Hours. There's like a lot of good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been good, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. So how long have you been working on that?
I made the song probably about like 5 months ago. And then, with just kind of the current state of events, it felt needed, it felt needed. So I got with one of my homeboys and we edited, this beautiful montage of like Black joy and Black pain and like just like all these culturally relevant moments in like Black entertainment, I guess. And it was, it came out really, really great, man. And people have been receptive. And like, I'm just grateful that I made something that people feel moves them and impacts them. And, it's been kind of crazy. So yeah, things are awesome right now.
Yeah, cool. Cause I mean, this conversation, you and I have been talking for, I don't know how long, a year maybe, about doing this, recording some sort of conversation, through mutual friends. And then we put it off. Let's wait to do it in person. Let's, wait till Joe comes to New York. We can all hang. And then that just kind of got kicked down the road. And then we reignited it. And then COVID happened. And then we were going to do it over the phone. And then you dropped this song, and that feels like this is the thing to talk about. So it's kind of funny how it all evolved.
Yeah, man. Interesting, right?
So why don't we dig into the track Black Boy, because I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Sure, man. It's like I said, we created it probably about like 4 or 5 months ago. It features my guys ER. They're a DJ production duo on the internet. You know what I mean? They have like this crazy like Daft Punk situation kind of going on. And so it was awesome when they reached out to me to see if I would be interested in like the sounds that they were creating. And like I came across the Black Boy beat not too probably like I want to say maybe like a week or two after an ayahuasca ceremony. So my spirituality is, it's at the forefront of my life, and like it's always something that I'm trying to care for and nurture. So, it was a couple of weeks after that, and I had it, and it kind of just came to fruition. I was hanging with a good friend and mentor of mine, Daniel Glogauer, and I was at his house, and I was playing with his sons or whatnot, and it was just kind of reminiscent of like just me being a kid, right, and like that freedom that was there when I was really young, and as well as like just that innocence, you know what I mean? And yeah, and I think I tried to like tap into that in the record, and as well as like a lot of what that is growing up as a Black boy and becoming a Black man, right?
So tell me more about the spirituality, because we've chatted in the past. I don't know when that was, maybe like the beginning of lockdown, beginning of quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about, sort of some of the things that you were thinking about slowing it down, while we're all have to be kind of by ourselves a lot more, not running around as much.
Yeah, I think COVID kind of like forced a lot of people into that space, right? So kind of like spend a little more time with themselves or maybe their families and loved ones or whatnot. But yeah, I think all the kind of work that I try to continuously do, that I think that we're all like continuously doing, just developing these relationships, not just with like friends and family, but also with ourselves, right? And making sure we have these healthy relationships with ourselves and the things that we're diving into and thinking about, and who we see when we look in the mirror, and you know uh, like finding those spaces to be kind to ourselves and loving to ourselves, and trying to figure out like maybe why we weren't in the past, or just things around that kind of a narration of just life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from talking to you, it seems like you have a commitment to your own life, in a sense that you want to dig into it. You want to explore what you're capable of artistically, professionally, as in, from your career standpoint, and career as it stands now in marketing, but a wide range of interests and a commitment to really digging into those things and contributing in a meaningful way in various realms.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, it's definitely important to me to like try to live a life of service, and a life of having an understanding of who you are. Self awareness is very important of who you are, and like what are your kind of God given gifts and your God given talents, and like what is maybe your quote unquote calling or whatever. Like, what is it that you want to do with your time here, right? And what feels right to you, or and also like what doesn't feel like work for you, right? What is it that you would do that every day that you wake up, like what is something that like you would just do, even if nobody
Right.
was paying you. Like I wasn't in a space of things are like speeding up and kind of accelerating right now, with the new song, which is really great. But even prior to, some people know me from like the Double XL 2010 cover with Wiz Khalifa and J. Cole and all these people. I ended up like, slowing down my life and moving to Hawaii and kind of like backing out of that space of entertainment and whatnot. But it wasn't for me to just never make music again. It was like I was still creating, but I was creating more so for myself, right? So it's like a thing of like just being someone who can who loves something so much that they're going to do it no matter what, right? It's just kind of inevitable. You're like, I'm just going to do this, right? Like I'm going to put together model cars because I love cars from when I was a kid or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be something you do professionally, but if it's something that you're extremely passionate about, why not try to figure out how you can like really sustain it and take it to the next level and monetize off of it, so you can take that love and be able to make it into something that where you can spread it around and care for your family and friends.
Yeah, no, beautiful. And especially the part about, you sounds like you were a young musician, rapper who, people were expecting you to do a certain type of thing because, you're on the cover of magazines and running with the folks that are, excelling in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, I don't know, this doesn't feel like the right thing to me, or I'm pulled to do something else that maybe no one's really expecting, and just trusting your own intuition in that sense.
It's so important to do that, man. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we'll burn ourselves out or even like poison ourselves trying to live a life for everyone else rather than ourselves.
Right. So what brought you to Hawaii in that stage?
I had a really great friend. Well, I have a really great friend. Like, I can't believe I said had. I have a really great friend named Joe. He was a professional surfer out there, and he runs a brand called Information. And yeah, man, like, I had got to visit Hawaii numerous times just performing and whatnot. And me and him developed a really incredible relationship. And he invited me out, and we were doing like some creative endeavors. We were working on some clothing things and whatnot. Yeah, and we just kind of enjoyed the island, man. It's such a beautiful place, and yeah, just out there creating and kind of doing our thing. And from there, it just, things began to open up even more. Prior to being in Hawaii, I was out in San Francisco with one of my best friends. His name's Zane, and he's incredible. He works over at Y Combinator, the incubator responsible for Airbnb and Uber and a lot of other like just these top tier companies. He lead design over there. Like him and I, we definitely took a space in SF when we met, and we like, SF is known for these magical like, people and like hippie movement and like psychedelics and all these things. So being out there, like that kind of like opened me up a bit. And then it was like, oh yeah, man, like you want to go to Hawaii now, man. Like this is the, you're looking at life a little differently. what's
yeah,
right? Right.
Yeah. Always exploring and kind of following your nose as it relates to your own inner compass.
For sure. That's me. I'm sure that's how my mother would describe me as well.
Yeah. That's cool, man. It's inspiring too to see people that are doing that, because it's easy to get caught in one path, or identify yourself as one thing. Like, oh, I'm a musician, so that means I can't be a business person, or I'm right brain versus left brain, or all these constraints we put on ourselves. But
yeah, man,
the truth is you can explore whatever you want.
Absolutely. And I think somebody who does that really, who kind of like just at a high level broken those barriers and continues to kind of fight that good fight is like a Kanye West, right? Where he's like, oh, no, I make clothes too because I like this, right? And like, I don't know if you've ever seen his paintings and stuff from when he was in like high school, and like he's like Kanye's paint game is crazy. Like it's really funny, like how people would just view you as like a rapper, maybe, or a marketer or a chef or whatever it is. And it's like, no, like I'm a human being, and like as humans, we have so many talents that we're probably not even taking advantage of, right?
So I guess tell me more about like how your path to where you got to today, and as it relates to your artistic expression, your interest now. And I know you're always curious, and you've been kind of on the move, it sounds like, from the beginning. So
grew up in Jonesboro, Georgia. It's jumping now, but at the time pretty rural. You know what I mean? Not a lot really going on down there, down in the South. If you look at like 89 and things like that, it wasn't much really popping off. So I grew up out there with not just normal childhood energy or whatnot. And at 18, my parents gave me a year to like just make music and do my thing. And like that's something I was extremely passionate about. And at 19, I ended up joining the Air Force, something that like kind of like on my father's side was just like a repetitive thing, like going into the military. So like coming from that background. And I was a photographer in the Air Force. And while I was there, after boot camp, they sent me to an area called Fusa, Japan, right? So in Fusa, it's like 45 minutes from Tokyo. So it's like maybe 2 train stops, you get on the fast train, and that kind of like set off a whole thing, right? Set off fireworks. I was always making music since like 15, in studios and stuff. But when I got to Japan, like it just, me being someone who had never really truly left the country, aside from like maybe a trip to Jamaica, the Bahamas or something like that, they put a kid in the middle of Japan. And, of course, you're going to go wild when when you're an artist or whatever, right? Or you're just looking for inspiration and you're still young and being molded into like the man or woman you want to be. So, yeah, I got to Japan in the Air Force, and, I got into a lot of trouble in the military for sure, because I'm in Japan and like I just want to rap. I just want to make rap music, right? Like the photography wasn't really speaking to me like that on that level of things, and I just began to make mixtapes. Let's make mixtapes, and I would hand them out in front of like the nightclubs that I knew all the like American soldiers would be in, and the airmen and whatnot. And I got asked to do shows out in Japan, so I would do like shows like near the military base. Club. There was one club called Club Crump at the time, another one called Club Flow. And I would just do shows around there. And then a gentleman by the name of Jiro, who was a Japanese kind of promoter, was like, yo, you need to come to Roppongi. And I'm like, what the hell is Roppongi? Now, Roppongi is like this jumping ass city, like in the middle of Tokyo, right? So it's not like me just being by the military bases. He's like, you should come out and like perform out there. So I went to Roppongi and started like doing shows, and it was dope because a lot of the military bases would come from there, not just the Air Force guys. It would be Navy guys and Army guys, and it was just lit out there because it's like an international hub. Um, so I started performing there, and then like would get asked to open for people who would come. Now at this time, like, so you could just go back and see how long ago this was. It's like Chingy would come, and like T.I. early in his career came out there like after he dropped the one that like really made him big, the King album. You know what I mean? So opening up for artists like that, and then my military tier kind of came to an end. And as that came to an end, I met a gentleman by the name of Hassan who was working closely with John Legend, and he moved me to New York. And I moved to New York, and things began to start jumping. Like, people heard my music, Ryan Leslie, John Legend, and I began to create like a little like energy around myself as I began to really explore what this could be, being outside of the military. Nothing really kind of happened while I was in New York. The management team I was with felt like, some of these artists weren't the best for me to team up with or whatever it was. And so, me being a broke guy living in New York wasn't really cutting it anymore. And I was collecting unemployment checks and whatnot. And I was like, all right, it's time to go. Like, I don't think that this squad is for me anymore, or whatever it was. So I needed to make some changes. Made those changes, moved to Atlanta, and began to work on a mixtape known as Diary of an ATL Brave. That mixtape jumped off. There was a record on there called Gone, and the record did really well. We passed like top 40 and on iTunes and whatnot, and it was an Adidas commercial, and it kind of set off that kind of like new scheme that Adidas kind of has, in my opinion, right? Like, the commercial did extremely well. And, then B.O.B. and Big Sean had Adidas commercials. And then I think they really found value in artists in that space like they did early on with like a Run DMC or something. And now, as you know, like, they're even bigger than they were when it comes to the American market. And Kanye kind of has them like lifted up on his shoulders. And it's really an amazing thing to see. And then, from there, like I did a little bit of writing with people like Gucci Mane and like T.I. and like B.O.B. and like, and then for toured with Bruno Mars, all these people, did some really cool things, but then ultimately decided that I wanted to kind of like get out of the space, and I moved from New York to SF, and then that kind of like gets us to where, the Hawaii came into play and all those other things. Yeah, that's kind of the quick version of that.
I mean,
my journey to you right now, Ty.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a abnormal path. I didn't know about the Air Force experience. That's crazy. So you were only like 19 at that point.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like you had a lot going on at a young age.
I couldn't really catch my footing on what everything that was happening, right, or where to kind of go. You're so young, and you're making money for other people. People are older than you and stuff, and I didn't really have a grasp of like who I was and like what it is that I wanted, or maybe I wasn't even able to like really stand up for what I wanted, right? When I'm dealing with lawyers who are like really crazy in the game, and like they're kind of being bullies and all these other things, right? And there's no book on how to survive these things, this industry, right? It's like, it's very like really, really crazy once you're in it, right? If you're not like solid and have yourself grounded, people will 100% take advantage of it and like leave you with nothing, so to speak, right? And that's financially and spiritually, So very important that you know exactly what it is that you want, what you're aiming to do. And I think I wasn't fully there. I just wanted to make music because I love music so much, and I was always so passionate about it. Just knowing I wanted to do it from a young age, like 7 or 8, when I first saw like a Crisscross or something like that, right? That was like super motivating.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, it sounds like you're pretty introspective about, I would be interested in hearing more about kind of like how, when you do sort of look in the mirror, become introspective about what you want to do next. What gets you excited about pursuing this versus that?
Currently, like, yeah, currently the music is extremely, it's inspirational for me. I think I'm using my voice in a way I've never used my voice, right? I've always been someone who is very much inspired by like the Goody Mobs of the world and the Outcasts of the world and things of that nature. And those are classic groups, and they, organize noise, these guys, and they also like the Nas's of the world and whatnot. And like, I think that that music does live on in a certain space, but rap music has become so popular that it's not what it once was, right? Like when I look at rap music now, the way I view rap music is like the way I used to view NSYNC or Britney Spears, things like that, right? Where I see these artists are like huge, right? You take an artist like maybe like a Tekashi 6ix9ine or something like that, like, the hood doesn't have to vouch for him, right? Like he still can be successful just because like rap music is popular music now. We have to like, a lot of people I don't think can like garnish that or realize that. But it's huge. And you don't have to be like truly in like this pocket. Like I think Russ does it very well as well. You know what I mean? Like if you go to the block, the average hood guy or whatever it is may not know who Russ is, but like Russ sells millions and millions of records and so like respected in his own right or for what he does, right? So it's like there's a space where like it's not owned by the community that kind of started it, the black community, right? It's not owned by us anymore. It's not just our thing anymore. And being able to like kind of tap back into music in this space with a record like Black Boy, and for it to see like the love that it's getting is really great to me, right? And it's something that I want to be able to take these amazing, really deep messages and meet them with that juxtaposition of like pop music, right? Like this song is a song that's like it's aggressive and it is powerful as hell. But at the same time, it's like if you really think about it, it's a pop record. At the end of the day, it's like it has like these conscious or like raps, but they're broken down into some shit that you would really maybe expect from a Southern rapper, right? It's like black boy, black boy, black boy. Hey, and it's like really fun, but it's like at the same time it has a message behind it,
Sure.
So
Yeah. I mean, it's
currently, right? Like I want to make an extremely high level visually, and I also want to I want to sonically take you there as well. But I want it to be easy to digest. I'm not trying to like do the big word thing with you and like I'm so smart and I'm like way better rapper than everyone in the world. It's like no, you really articulate a message and it can be conscious without all the, what I mean, without overdoing it or overtrying.
it's an energized song. It's charged. It really, I mean, you use the word aggressive. It feels like something that could really fire you up.
Oh, for sure, man. Like when I was making it, like I like one day when the world opens up again, like I look forward to seeing people like mosh into it and going like extremely wild to it, 'cause it's made for that, right? Like that energy and that angst inside the record, I think you just feel it, right? And we were mixing it and stuff. I like talking to my boy Needles. Needles did the drums. Shout out to Needles, and I'm like, yeah, man, like this is like my smells like Teen Spirit, and then like one of my like, nah, this is like some Ramones shit. This is like rock. And I'm like, yeah, man, like that energy is incredible, man. And a lot of cool artists have been able to tap into that space, but unfortunately, like we lost a lot of them early, right? Like the Lil Peeps and their XXXTentacions and whatnot. And I have such a respect for like that energy and that early 90s rock. And yeah, man, I'd love to see that energy just come into the forefront, like in a really heavy way.
You made the video too.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that because it's so cool and it complements the song very well. And it seems like you have some heroes in there. You mentioned the innocence of youth. I'm sure. My guess is those are some of the guys and women that you're inspired by.
Absolutely, man. And moments in culture that like just sit and resonate with me, like Erykah Badu, she was pregnant by Andre, and that was just like a crazy thing to me because like both of them, two of my favorite artists, or Basquiat, or playing Super Mike Tyson Punch Out in there, and Pharrell and what he's done for the culture, and Kanye, and or being in middle school or elementary school, whatever it was, or No Jay was in the Bronco and riding, and like I'm sitting there with my teacher and we're watching this live on TV. It's like all these moments all these moments that are like embedded in not just Black culture, but culture of the world, right? And you know, a lot of those things that I saw growing up, a lot of those things I didn't see growing up, but also things that like you have to be familiar with, especially being a young Black boy in the South, you know, and understanding, you know, some of the imagery that's a bit darker, you know, the lynchings and things like that, and like, growing up somewhere with the Confederate flag, growing up somewhere where your field trips are to old plantations and stuff like that, like that's a real part of, you know, growing up in the South, having that understanding alongside of people who, you know what I mean, who have kind of oppressed you, you know what I mean, and then like you grew up around these symbols of oppression as well. So yeah, man, and a lot of that stuff, it was really crazy, man. Like a lot of that history and photos and things like that are extremely hard to find. Like I went through, we scoured the internet and YouTube for all these things. And it's like a lot of the shit that you're looking for that happened during these times, you can't even find it. You know what I mean? It's like, or it's like you have to buy it from Getty. It's like it was this weird space that I was in also where it's like, damn, I'm about to like I gotta spend $800 to buy like essentially like my history and my culture back from Getty. Like I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna rip it off. You know what I mean? So it's like some of the stuff we took, you know, you'll see maybe a scene or two that has like a copyright thing on there, like you can't be used or whatever it is. But that's like kind of like to me, it's like, you know, like a branding, a slave stamp or some shit to me. It's like really crazy. It's like, damn, I can't even use this for my own shit. So, you know, we thought about a lot of that stuff as we created it, man. And it was exhausting making it, to be honest with you, man. We were in there for days, and maybe some days it's just like, yo, dude, I can't do this right now. Like, I need to go watch like Rick and Morty or like smoke a blunt and just like, because then we can just jump in and did it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it's, you know, too heavy for too long. Yeah.
So yeah, man, there was definitely some exhausting days, but you know, we got it done, and like the impact that is having, though currently still like in its infant stages, to see every day, you know, going up like 3,000 views, or you know, another celebrity of high note posting it, or you know, liking it, or Google's reaching out already. You know, we're not even in a week into this thing. It just it makes it feel like, you know, we're doing the right thing, we're doing the right thing, and how can we elevate this and amplify this sound and this message or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, that's must be incredibly exciting for you, having worked on it for so long.
Definitely, man, definitely.
So, I mean, the long, obscenely overdue discussion that is, you know, finally taking the main stage of the social uprising and demonstrations and Black Lives Matter. And, you know, you mentioned growing up in the South and being aware of these symbols of oppression. And I'd be curious to hear more about kind of your thoughts. Like what are you observing now? Or what are your thoughts on what you're observing as the Black Lives Matter takes the main stage over the last couple of weeks?
I'm observing people making an attempt to educate themselves, brands looking to hold themselves accountable. But it's you know, you can't just throw money at problems. You can like money is like a great tool, but also I'm see like how like within the system things begin to operate. So, you know, this is I'm shout out to this generation of millennials and Generation Z who are like taking a stance, you know what I mean, and utilizing tools and getting out there and getting hit with tear gas and rubber bullets and taking you know, getting locked up and like not being scared to stand up for themselves. You know, Black Boy is a record it's a record of self-love. You know what I mean? In a time where things seem a little uneasy and like, you know what I mean, you see yourself dying on TV and like you hear about it all the time. We're in a time where we're getting so much information, right? And it goes back to like when I was creating that visual, right? It's like I was receiving so much information that was not all positive information, right? And it's like, you know, you have to take time to digest those things. You have to take time to like work with those things and not let those things like bog you down. You have to find that self-love and be able to stand up for yourself. So, shout out to everybody who's out there standing up for themselves and standing up for others that they see are being oppressed, and like having enough self-love to spread it around and still have enough for yourself to get up in the morning and continue your fight.
Love it. Self-love. That's a good message to be spreading. And thank you for being a voice that, is doing that.
Oh,
I'd be curious if you're willing, LaDonnis, to dig into some of the lyrics of Black Boy.
For sure. They're pretty simple, but let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you mentioned that, like, as I understood what you said, that the words or the lyrics are simple, but there's a big message underneath it. And then, just a little bit more on that and how it relates to the message that you want to be sharing, but also just your own personal expression of whatever you're feeling at the time you made that track.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Like, it was definitely a space of like walking through, I feel like, kind of my journey, as well as like what I see when I like look at my homeboy sons, right? And like that energy that they carry as well. And also like my journey and like my journey with like my mother towards the end, in the hook and towards the end, right? You know what I mean? As I face obstacles just as a grown man or whatever it is, my mom's always been like right there, right, with that advice, whether I take it or not. You know what I mean? The one person who's gonna show me myself in the mirror and tell me when I'm not being the best version of myself or whatever it is, right? So, like we run through it. It's just like black don't crack, black boy got it like that, black boy stack that green, black boy king, came from a young black queen, black boy, black boy, black boy, black boy, hey, black boy living in joy, black boy living in pain, black boy shot, bang, bang. To be a black boy is insane. To love a black boy is insane. So like in that hook, you have like the traditional thing, right? Like black don't crack, like black people like don't age or forever young or whatever it is. That energy, and then just like going into the space of like, hey man, like you're working hard, you're doing your thing, you're a king. Yeah? Like don't ever for 1 minute think that you're not who you are, right? Like you're somebody special. Like you bring something to the table, right? And you have your own table. You can create tables like you are that, right? It came from a young black queen, clearly like reference to like my mother, all the black mothers, you know what I mean, out here who like are watching this happen, right? Watching their sons not be able to get jobs, watching their sons struggle with mental health, watching their sons not be, respected and shot in the streets, and like having to be worried, when they get pulled over or for whatever situation they're going to be in, you know what I mean? Just leaving the house, you know what I mean? And I think that goes for any parent, right? But it's even scarier when there's this added element of someone just seeing your son in a hoodie or your son walking through a neighborhood and feeling like, someone feeling threatened just from the mere presence of them, that's crazy, and that goes into the joy and the pain parts and the black boy shot parts. And to be a black boy is insane for sure. You know what I mean? I wouldn't trade it for the world, but there's definitely elements of it that are terrifying. And there's elements of it that, you always have to carry around with you wherever you go. You know what I mean? From every interview, from every meeting, whatever it is, you at the back of your mind or whatever it is, and at the front of your mind, you know what I mean? Like, for me, it's always been important to like always be present in where I'm at and what I'm feeling and the reactions to like people are having with me, the interactions that people are having with me, because, you never know what that is or how this person grew up or whatever it is or whatever prejudices they may have or whatever it is. So even like in a space, sometimes you feel like you have to like, you have to really show up and like razzle dazzle people and shit. And it's like, it's not even about that. Like you can be yourself. It's okay to be you. You know what I mean? And people should love you for that. Yeah. And then like the verses are really flexy. You know what I mean? Like black boy, wow. Black boy jumping that crowd. Black boy talking that style. And that right there is just like black boy culture, black girl culture, like, the things that we do inside of the culture, like we really dictate culture in a whole lot of ways, from sports to music, art and to culinary, like all these things, you know what I mean? Like we do a lot of dope shit that we don't maybe get the credit for, you know what I mean? And from there I go into black boy code, black boy rocking that gold, black boy getting them dollars, black boy got it. Every single black boy popping this way, all the black folks watching. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Kind of to go back in the touch and be talking about like how hip hop or whatever it is, it doesn't belong to us in that vicinity anymore, in my opinion, right? Like we don't get to dictate all the stars like we were at one point. It would come from the streets straight to the charts, and now you have people who grow up in other spaces, other cultures, whatever, and making rap music or whatever it may be or whatnot. And that's just like for me, one to say, hey, black girl, thank you for everything, right? Like I think that a lot of times it's overlooked, a lot of the things that black girls and black women do for us out here, and they put their necks on the line a lot of times in ways that a lot of black men aren't putting their necks on the line for them, you know what I mean? So I just want to show that love and that respect to them always and forever, because, I come from a black woman and I have black sisters. So, I always want to show that love. And then when I say this for all the black folks watching, it's to that point, right, of culture and things again. It's like, yo, like this, I want everybody to enjoy this song or whatnot, but like I made it specifically for you, so you can hear this message that, I love you guys and you're cracking, you're popping,
It sounds like it's coming straight from the heart, and the message of self-love and spreading your own culture and encouraging people to stand up for themselves and to love themselves for who they are and express their unique soul to the world is an important thing to be sharing. And
hell yeah, man. And like second verse energy is like, it's about kind of standing up and where to go next. And I use it as like an affirmation for like myself and like where I'm going and, the gifts that are coming my way and things like that and how I need to move or whatnot. But it's second verse goes, black boy strapped, black girl watching his back, black girl never go front. And that's kind of like me, my relationship with my mom, you know what I mean? And like, and our back and forth and how she has my back and how she's always, coming with that advice are always there, in my mind, if not with me, right by my side, keeping me on track, you know what I mean? So it goes, black girl never go front, smoking that blunt, black boy get what he want, love being black when I stunt, black boy going by land, black boy turn into a man, black boy gotta buy lakes, black boy gotta buy guns, stand your ground, don't run. So all of that comes from the space of, like, yeah, we like stunt, feel it, be aware, be in those moments. Like you are a black boy, like get it popping, like the people who don't love you, they're gonna have to learn to love you. You know what I mean? And so yeah, man, like people just having to respect you. Like you don't have to change who you are or try to feel like you have to like fit in or whatnot. It's like, yo, like be the best you can possibly be and like stunt, flex with that, man. Like you're awesome. And then we were talking about black boy going by land, black boy turning to a man and buying the lakes and doing all those things. It's like, like I said, those are kind of like affirmations for me. You know what I mean? Like what is the next frontier, right? Where like it's been amazing to watch like a Kanye like go buy all that land and like is like creating factories and jobs and doing these things. It's like I think that's very inspirational, and I think that's a space to like really dive into. And then black boy gotta buy guns, stand your ground, don't run. Kind of like a reference to rest in peace, like the Trayvon Martin murder. That stand your ground law down in Florida or whatever. And it's like, yo, I hope that goes both ways type of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, stand your ground, don't run. And then the gunshot hits on the record. And then we go into, it kind of speeds up and it's like, black boy is not a nigga, but black boy still fuck with his niggas. If you're not a nigga, you really don't get it. So don't rap that part when I spit it. Don't rap that part when I spit it.
Black boy strapped, black girl watching his back, black girl never go front, smoking that blunt, black boy get what he want, love being black when I stunt, black boy going by land, black boy turn to a man, black boy gotta buy lace, black boy gotta buy guns, stand your ground, don't run, black boy is not a nigga, but black boy still fuck with his niggas. If you not a nigga, you really don't get it, so don't rap that part when I spit it.
Don't rap that part when I spit it.
Black boy admit it, you love yourself.
It came from just this space of like being at like envisioning myself at this festival and performing this and like having that on, like being able to post something that large and that real on the screen, right? Like don't rap that part. Like it's that simple. You know what I mean? Like just don't rap that part. Don't say that part, whatever it is. And, you know, and kind of like taking ownership of that word and that space. And like, it's like, you'll never get it. You'll maybe never understand it. It is what it is. And I'm like, don't rap that part when I spit it. And then, you know, we come towards what would be the end of the verse, moving towards the end of the song where we go, you know, Black boy, admit it, you love yourself. I just want you to trust yourself. And that Black woman and no one else, I trust her way more than I trust myself. And it's just back to my relationship with my mom and like trusting her more than I trust myself, and like having that love and that respect for her and knowing that she wants the best for me. And you know, and also like reaffirming that self-love that I have for myself. And then, you know, it goes back into the hook and, you know, and then, you know, we close up shop.
Thanks for running through that, man. That was very cool to hear the artist's own synopsis of the lyrics, because everyone else can kind of speculate, but we heard it from the truth here. Great, man. I mean, how are you feeling about everything, about, you know, having put this out and kind of what's next? I know you talk a lot about sort of visualizing what you want to happen in your life and affirmations and things like that. What are you looking forward to from here?
Amplifying this record right now, you know, getting it to as many people as I can possibly get it to, finding like-minded artists and creatives, producers, directors, all that to work with, to really bring a new vision to the world, to hip hop, to music in general. Yeah, man, just elevating all aspects of life and making a positive impact. You know, I began to work on like kind of like a mission statement for myself and for my life. And that was definitely one of those things in there, right? To be able to make a positive impact on the world however I can, right? I think like it's very easy to just make a positive impact on your life, your own life, and like make things or whatever it is that kind of are self-appreciating or whatever it is, like all for you. But to be able to make something that, you know, I got to see some visuals yesterday of people protesting to the song. And that was something that like kind of took me back a bit, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't necessarily made for that. But if it's that for somebody, that means the world to me, right? It gives them a reason to go out there and fight for change. And that's incredible. That's more than I could have already asked for, you know?
Yeah. And speaking of that, so you mentioned that you've had a lot of support and a lot of attention about the track so far. What are people reacting to? I know you touched on a little bit about the, you know, it's you reference it as your Smells Like Teen Spirit, or there's a lot of energy to it, or it's, you know, it's an exciting track. But what else has kind of caught your ear about what people are, the feedback you're getting on it?
Well, that's kind of been the feedback, right? That it's extremely powerful and it's impactful. And, you know, people thanking me for creating that and speaking out, especially during a time like this. Yeah, that's been it. It's been extremely positive. I had a talk with my dad today, and I got on the phone with him. And he's like, "Yo, man, like, you know, while I watched the video, and, you know, like, you know, a lot of times you see a lot of like negative comments and people like thumbs down." He's like, "It's not even been that on the record. Like, people they just showing you so much love." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's so far so good." You know what I mean? And it's like, it's good to see that and all that, but like that, I don't base anything off of that. You know what I mean? I base it off of, you know, seeing people out there marching in the streets to the music and people, you know, just saying thank you. You know what I mean? And then also just the way that it makes me feel, you know what I mean? Like it has to come from a place for me first. Like I have to like find those spaces of love and energy first. And then like if I'm able to share those, and that means the world to me, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what race you are, whatever it is, if you feel that love for me, and like it moves you in a way where you view things a little differently than maybe you did before, then my job is done as an artist, you know what I mean?
Pushing people's perspectives through your own expression,
absolutely,
of what matters to you, and then that creates a conversation, you know, like the one we're having now, but also on a broader scale. Mm-hmm. Not to mention just the inspiration you're going to, you already emit through the act of creating anything, but particularly something that you put so much work into and is so honest and from the heart and is imbued with, cultural messages that we all need to be aware of.
For sure, man. And I hope that somebody hears this and goes and makes an even bigger one. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's about, right? It's about like passing that baton on and being like, yo, you can do this. And it's like everybody at home here, like, oh shit, I can do that. Like it finds their own way to be able to, say something positive, and but also, make it big, make it impactful and powerful. I love being able to go through the record like that because I don't think I've even taken the time to go through it like that since I've made it.
I think it's going to be fun for people when they're listening to be able to. I know I always appreciate hearing what the artist has to say about their own work. Without trying to pry too much about the inspiration or the meaning or whatever. It's like it's just cool to hear whatever the artist has to say. I'm curious to hear more like about, you mentioned you're going out to LA to work with Apple and Black Lives Matter. Like, how are you feeling about that as an opportunity for you? I imagine that's pretty exciting.
Hell yeah, man. It's super exciting, man. Like it just came about yesterday. And, prior to this, we were having conversations about just around the record, me and my friend Daniel. And we were talking about it, we were talking about like voices for like the culture, right? Like Tupac, right? Like he was just so adamant, he didn't even care. He spit at cops, he didn't give a shit, And then you have people like Kanye West, George Bush hates black people. And then, other artists I won't mention, they had opportunities to kind of stand up and do things in their career, but they kind of shied away or whatever it is. And then, there was a little part of me that kind of was like, well, I'm not like an encyclopedia of all Black knowledge. And like, I don't know like all the history. Like, how could I possibly have a talk or debate with someone when I don't know these things? And like, his wife and him were like, you don't need to be. You don't need to be. All you need to talk about is like your experience and like, what do you know better than your experience of being Black in America and growing up in the South? You know what I mean? So that was like, that's something that really like pushed me and motivated me to like kind of like, I'll be like, all right, cool. Like let's get out here and like, let's really like talk about these things because, they're important and they need to be heard. These stories, every story isn't the same, but all the stories should be heard and taken with seriousness. You know what I mean? And like as my voice begins to become amplified and like my art continues to grow and we really dive into these spaces, it's important for me to be able to say things for people who don't have this type of stage to stand on, right? You can't be scared because at the end of the day, like I said, there's a generation of kids out there getting arrested and getting hurt and getting hit. So, and like really taking risk out there, potentially, like they're risking their lives. They're not potentially risking their lives. They're doing it. So the least I can do is send a goddamn tweet out. The least I can do is like overcome any fear and go sit with whoever's writing for, working with Black Lives Matter, or talking to so-and-so from whatever magazine or publication. It's like, damn, bro, like that's the least you can, you know what I mean? That's a small thing to do when people are out there risking their lives every day. You know what I mean? And knowing that and just knowing that my life is at risk. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not prone to any type of anything. I get pulled over or whatever the hell it is, or, you know what I mean? Have to walk in somewhere for an interview or whatever and not be taken seriously or whatever the hell it is. Like, it's a fight that continues, and like, it's very important that people choose sides.
Yeah. And your experience is unique and valid, just like anybody else's. And so you're going to be able to speak to what you've gone through in the only way that story could be told. And that's really intriguing to know that's on the table for you. And to continue riding the wave of your own creative energy, but also your it seems like your earnest mission to spread love and to share your story and to encourage others to do the same. It's a beautiful thing, and cheers to you for that. We dove in a little bit growing up in the South, you reference your, you get pulled over, you might be concerned about going into a store with a hooded sweatshirt on, or like, tell me more about your direct experience of being Black in the South.
Growing up in Jonesboro, which I spoke on earlier, Jonesboro, there wasn't too many people of color down in Jonesboro. Like in a school, it was maybe like 4 Black kids when I grew up out there, early like elementary and things of that nature and whatnot. To like also like spending my summers in like Mississippi and like New Orleans and things of that nature or whatever. That's deep South. So you know what comes with that. It's like a lot of Confederate flags and a lot of N-bombs getting dropped, and you know what I mean. There's even little like racist ass songs and shit people would sing to you as a kid or whatever, and kids don't want to play with you and get made fun of or whatever it is, and it's like that shit's impacted without a question, especially at a young age. When it's like your only thing you're supposed to do as a kid is receive love and show love, and to know that there's people who are poisoned early on who can't share in that with you because of whatever has been taught their way or with their family or whatever it is, and then that poison gets passed on to you, and you have to figure out what you do with that poison and that hate. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's a dark thing for sure. Yeah, and just like having experienced that, and having my mother have to tell me certain things and teach me certain things and like walk me through what I have to absolutely without question do when I'm pulled over by a police officer. You know what I mean? Like all the other shit has to go out the window, like getting pulled over anywhere at this point. But specifically, where I'm from, it's always been a thing where, you got to be on point. And it's funny. We was coming, down south shit. My homeboy came to visit me from LA, Filipino guy. And we were coming back from Magic City, and I got pulled over. And like, I went through what I've known since, I was whatever, 5, 6, you go through the motions or whatever it is. And clearly they change as you get older because, I'm taking off my seatbelt. I'm doing this, all of these things. And, I ran through the whole shit and, luckily it all went smoothly. But my boy, like at the end, he just looked at me and he was like, fuck, you handle that shit so well. And it's like, I have no fucking option, my guy. Like, there's not a choice. Like, I have to, you know what I mean? There's no, why'd you stop me? Or none of that extra shit with me. You know what I mean? Because, like, it's just been embedded in me that I can't fuck around because I am a goddamn target, and that's just how it goes, right? So it's like, it's got to be a live to fight another day situation because I don't want my mom to ever get that call that I got fucking popped because somebody got mad because I maybe said something that didn't sit right with them, or they felt threatened by the way I was just reaching for my seatbelt or going for my insurance or whatever little thing that may be that we all, have to do when we get pulled over and they ask for those things or whatnot. But, I make it my fucking duty to be extremely careful when I deal with situations like that because, I'm seeing it over and over again and like I've experienced it, and clearly my mom and my grandfather, these people aren't telling me this shit just to tell me this shit. It's something that's been going on for quite some goddamn time, and they want me to be able to come home to them just as much as I want to come home to them. It's a survival mechanism. Like I want to be out here. I want to be out here making music. I want to be out here creating. I want to see myself have a family. You know what I mean? Like that's held in my hands. Like I have to do certain things or whatever and move a certain kind of way when actually people should just be doing their fucking jobs properly. And like, there needs to be some changes that are made so everybody so people don't have to carry around that extra baggage that is, you know what I mean? That does stem from fear because of a lot of the bullshit that's been going on that's bubbling to the surface that a lot of people are getting to view and see for the first time.
It's the fact that we all owe each other support and peace of mind. And if that's not happening, then we as a human race need to figure that out. And it feels like, maybe I'm naive and not too optimistic, but it feels like we're at a new stage of the public conversation becoming serious across the board enough to really make changes for the better.
Absolutely, man. But yeah, like it's about action. It's about action for sure. So it's like it's always good to it's good to be seeing these things. It definitely feels good. When you feel like a lot more representation is happening and whatnot. And it's all about these actions and continuing these actions and making them habits and creating lifestyle. Of just love and being able to have it and spread it and that that equality is important.
Yeah, yeah, that's great stuff. And again, you're the messenger. You're one of the powerful messengers, and just excited to see where this particular track takes you.
Yeah, thank you, Ty. I appreciate it, man.
And you mentioned earlier about ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, are you willing to chat about that?
Yeah. I'll tap into where those spaces I'm comfortable, chatting about for sure. Let's do it.
Yeah, because if it was part of the ayahuasca, if the ayahuasca was part of the origins of your creation, I'd be curious to hear more about that.
For sure, man. It's everybody's journey is different, with psychedelics and things of that nature. This to me, I view ayahuasca as a medicine. It's incredible. It's been very good to me. It's something that I practice with my shaman. And it's it's something that's helped me, people who know about ayahuasca, it's a purging experience, right? And it has helped me purge a lot of parts of myself and conditioning that I, had taken on to get rid of a lot of that, right? And, I don't even just think it's just like in this lifetime, not to get all hippy dippy or whatever. I think it's things that from other lifetimes, things that are like hereditary, things that are like from, that run in like your family, like your lineage. You know what I mean? I think we all have, there's things that definitely get carried through and through with DNA, and like most Black people, I come from a line of slavery and all these other horrific, brutal things that have just occurred, and those things they're a part of our story. They're a part of us, you know what I mean? As much as we can be like, oh, but this was 400 years ago, and this was so long ago, and all this shit. It's like, believe it or not, it's in you. You know what I mean? It's in you, and like it's up to us to take care of ourselves physically, mentally, spiritually. It's a mind, body, soul thing always, and getting aligned and getting tapped in with the higher power. So we are presenting our best selves at all times, and then also being able to look in your the eye to me, it definitely it allows you to look in a mirror, and like I think if a lot of people looked in the mirror, they wouldn't like what they saw, and they would start rearranging a couple of things to get right with themselves so they can get out here and be a part of a mission that's the proper mission in my end, by being on the right side of history and being on the right side of just things in your day-to-day life, right? And showing that love and that appreciation. And but it's an ongoing battle, man. We every day we wake up, every minute, every second, we're making these micro decisions that end up being these big decisions. And yeah, man, we want to be making the right decisions and doing the right things, and be doing them out of once again, love.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I love that. And all of us, it's all of us have the choice. Who are you going to be? What are you going to be?
Exactly.
What behaviors are you going to assign to yourself, demand of yourself? And those, like you said, those are micro decisions that happen in every unfolding moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to forget that. And you said, it's the work, it's the battle. It is our most important work to continue showing up with the best of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to hear that there are folks out there thinking about it, and a lot of interesting work being done in that realm.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, man, like you said, showing up, man, like just being there, being in your moments, being with your own personal thoughts, right? Like, oh, wait, why did I just think that? Like, what is that? Like, and like doing that work to figure out what that is and eliminating it if it need be, or something like, oh, wow, that was beautiful. Like, yo, like, how do I grow that, right? Like, how do I tend to my own garden and make that and bigger and better. Not, you know what I mean? For not just for myself, everyone, right? Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, I'm glad that we dug in there, because I think that's the heart of all of this stuff. That's the heart of what we all need to be doing to make this place better for everyone involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So LaDonnis, is it? I saw your Instagram, LaDonnis. Your artist name is LaDonnis.
Artist name is LaDonnis. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. This is awesome. It's been a pleasure, man.
For sure, man. Peace.
Black don't crack, black boy got it like that. Black boy stack that green, black boy king. Came from a young black queen. Black boy, black boy, black boy, black boy. Black boy living in joy, black boy living in pain. Black boy shot. To be a black boy is insane, to love a black boy is insane.